What is going on, SoFi fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to break it down for you on all the bullish science that's happening behind the scenes for SoFi, why institutions continue to buy, and why I decided to pull the trigger and add to my position. Before I get into any of that though, making sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe, I greatly appreciate that. With that though, let's get right to it. So looking at the live ticker at the very bottom, currently down 2.1%, 16.8 million for volume, which in general isn't bad. The fact that we've been open for 2 hours and it is a Friday, so that's definitely a good sign. 45.9 is the average, and that is a 6-month average, and 2.4 million shares being purchased by institutions just today alone on the secondary market. So I think for it being a Friday, this is a fairly good sign. There's a lot of people now talking about CPI data that is coming out next week, so that's something that's causing a little bit more volatility. And in SoFi's case as well, oddly enough, there is a lot of bearish articles all coming out saying that is well overvalued, blah blah blah. So I find that a little bit more BS, especially post Q2 earnings and the data that came from that. I have no idea how anyone could ever twist that to being a negative. So that's my own 2 cents, but when it comes down to it though, I want to share a lot of things with you. So one of which is institutional purchasing. Like I said, I've been really monitoring this over the last little bit, and at the end of the day, a lot of people need to follow the money. As simple as that sounds, it is very true. As much as also a lot of retail investors think that they can make a huge difference by them buying, yeah, it can move obviously stocks 1 or 2 cents, but at the end of the day, if you want significant money, you need institutions backing it. So definitely follow the money. That's my own 2 cents. I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own due diligence at the end of the day. But looking here, a lot of big money has been getting in, and we've only been open for roughly about 2 hours. And one abnormal thing that I've been noticing over the last several days is big orders after hours. So I don't know if that means anything, but I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Also, new round of 13Fs coming down the pipeline, and they are becoming more and more bullish. So that's also a very good sign. And just looking right here, you can see all of the green. So that is institutions making brand new positions. But outside of that though, most of them have actually been adding. So that's a very positive thing. But still, like I've always said, this is relatively small fish, if you want to call it that. The big ones are next week and the week after. So that is something that you definitely need to stay tuned for. But why I decided to buy is basically when you have good earnings such as what SoFi had, you have an initial pump, which obviously did happen in their case, but typically there's a little bit more of a retracement. That is in reality one of the best times to buy. Based on my experience when I've been investing since roughly about 2009, give or take, obviously it is very, very hard to catch the bottom. And in general though, my average was $8.15 leading into that. So I did actually add pretty much where I was. So again, it doesn't really change too much just based on the Q2 earnings and what came from that. It validated exactly what they can do in the grand scheme of things. So I think nobody out there can actually logically say SoFi is not there going to be making money, because based on their trajectory, even in Q4, they might actually be debt free, which is absolutely insane. So that's one of the biggest negatives I was saying why they went down, because when obviously Fed started to raise their rates in January, February-ish, that was one of the negatives of SoFi, is how much debt it actually had. So the fact that they can actually rectify that possibly even in 2022 is a very, very big deal. And so outside of that though, there's some things I just want to share with you. So I'm going to pop over to Interactive Brokers. I know some people definitely put in the comments, why am I using Interactive Brokers when I am doing a SoFi video? I like using Interactive Brokers for the data, and keep in mind, I am also living in Canada, so SoFi is not there as of right now. So that's just facts for you to keep in mind. But outside of that though, for those that watch my channel, you know I love technical analysis, and I'm going to obviously do that, but a lot of people really like the Elliott wave. Keep in mind, leading into the Q2 earnings, so not even factoring in all the positive news, we were set to go to $8.20. So in reality though, I think we should be significantly higher than that. So that's my own 2 cents. And while I'm here, I'm just going to give you an update. Still only the two, so Mizuho and Credit Suisse. There was 7 different analysts that provided actual questions during the Q2 earnings. So I do anticipate maybe later today, if not tomorrow, a lot more analysts jumping on board. So that's something just to factor in. And again, it could be a little bit more of a positive sign, because in Q4 and also Q1, one day after the earnings, we got a little bit more of a downgrade in both cases. So the fact that that hasn't happened could be a little bit more of a bullish sign as well. So again, a lot of things all behind the scenes, all insinuating that we are very much undervalued and that we in reality should be significantly higher. So my own 2 cents, and I'm going to give you some detailed short information. I'm going to first go to Interactive Brokers and look at this information because I really like charts as well. So looking at this chart, so this one does compare the actual short interest and also the fee rate and the price. So overall, pretty good representation, but you see the gap starting to close, but yet shorts aren't necessarily closing their positions. This is where a lot of credibility comes when people start talking about a short squeeze in SoFi's case, because all it will take is a very positive catalyst and then we potentially could squeeze. Again, my own 2 cents, a lot of things go into a short squeeze that obviously is a little bit more of a perfect scenario, perfect storm, but still it's one of those things that possibly could happen. So I'm going to quickly pop back over to Ortex and go to the short interest. So right now the short score is starting to continue to go up. So right now 72.51, higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening. And despite SoFi going down today, shorts are definitely closing some of their positions. So 252,000 shares being returned. Cost to borrow average is 3.01, which is starting to go up a little bit, but by no means where it actually should be. So again, it's pretty stagnant. They're waiting for the market to see where it's going to go. I think a lot of people are going to be on edge next week where CPI. If CPI oddly enough is below our expectation and below the forecast, then do anticipate the whole market to go through massive FOMO. It's going to go up massively. So my own 2 cents on how I see that happening. On the opposite though, if it is higher than expected, doesn't show that CPI or inflation is curbed, and then it potentially will hurt the market a lot. So I think a lot of people are just on edge waiting for that, but at the end of the day, that's just short-term mentality, just short-term noise. If you are investing in the long term, like I even said, possibly even by 2022, SoFi may be debt-free, then potentially this might be an amazing time to buy in. I thought so, and even outside of that though, if you have a 2024, 2025 mentality, then this just makes SoFi so much more appealing as far as a long-term investment. But my own 2 cents. So I'm just going to go over some technical analysis. So right now I have the 50, 100, 200-day moving averages, Bollinger Bands, RSI, stochastic, and momentum. So starting with momentum, number of buyers has been going up, starting to kind of curb down a little bit over the last day or so. Stochastic, despite us being down today, we are still having a nice deviation. So black line above the red showing a nice bullish trend. RSI is fairly flat at 69. And in reality though, for those that watch my channel and look at my technical analysis, in general, you guys already know we don't go outside the Bollinger Band unless there's a justifiable cause. So technically this is why we're pulling back a little bit as well today. So there's a lot of things happening, CPI data, fears, bad articles about SoFi, which again I think is complete BS, and also more so the technicals. Technicals need to cool down for us to stay inside the Bollinger Band, so that's something we need to factor in. But every time we do attempt to break out, it does push that outer limit more and more up, so giving us a little bit more room per se, if you want to call it that. So definitely shows that if CPI data is good, then we can expand at a very fast rate. So that's something to factor in, but I think that the technicals don't look too bad, to be fully honest. And as far as a micro view, I'm just going to give you some resistance and support points. A lot of people really do like that. First, second, and third resistance points, 855, 886, and 921. I really see that as a little bit more of a gap per se. So this goes down to the point as well, the fact that the third resistance point is in the $9 range, then that goes to show that if there is a good piece of catalyst or a good piece of news, and or the possible market just goes through a little bit more of a rally per se, then we can easily get to the $9 mark, depending on what happens. So this is why I feel it's a little bit more advantageous to get in. And not only that though, as far as the first, second, and third support points, we did actually break past the first support point, which is $7.89. $7.54 is the second, and $7.23 is the third. So the likelihood of us going down that low, I don't see that happening, especially following up and piggybacking off of the Q2 earnings. I don't see any short-term negative to SoFi. My own 2 cents though, I could be completely wrong, and as Anthony has already said, the market does act very irrational. So you never know, right? It could go either way. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi in the comments below, and if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. And if you do like my channel and support the growth, take a look at my memberships. Link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that, I appreciate you guys watching, and let's all make a lot of money on SoFi.